This is Support is Sexy, episode 240, and we're continuing with part 3 of our Get Out Your Dream series. And today we're talking about, what's the plan? Welcome to Support is Sexy. I'm your host, Elayne Fluker, entrepreneur, author, and founder of Chic Rebellion Media. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I interview inspiring women entrepreneurs who share their wins and their lessons to help you take your business and your life to the next level and create something sexy. Here we go. Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Support is Sexy. I'm thrilled to have you here. You know, it just would not be the same without you. And today we are continuing with part 3 of our Get Out Your Dreams series. In the first part of the series, we talked about what is your dream and getting clarity around that. Then in our last episode, episode 239, we talked about what is your vision statement, what is your mission statement, and if you wanted to do one, what is your personal mission statement? Getting all of those clear so that you have your goals long-term and what your company, business, service, or what you personally want to create in the world. So today, our episode is about what's the plan? And now that you have your dream sort of in picture or in view, and now that you have a vision and a mission statement and a personal mission statement, what is the plan for getting to the goals that you've outlined for this thing that you want to create? Now, as I said in the first episode of the series, I'm not giving you the answers, but I do have a lot of the questions. And I will say that these are questions that I wish I asked myself before I started my business, the online business, and even my other businesses. These are things that I have learned even within the past couple of years that I thought, I wish I thought of that when I first started or even before I started. So I'm going to ask you some of those questions. You know, I'm going to suggest that you write it down, but if not, consider it or write it down later, put it in your phone if it's safe to do so. Whatever you have to do to consider these questions. Some of them you may have already answered, and if so, great. Some of them may not be relevant to you. If so, no problem. But some of them might be good reminders for you to think about when you're planning, if not this venture, maybe your next venture. Give these questions some thought to help you come up with a plan so you can take action and get out your dream. So the first question, if you are launching a business, do you need a business plan? A lot of us, myself included, for my most recent business, skip the business plan process, but you have to go back, make a business plan. It helps you map out, your plan for your business. It literally helps you map it out. Now, usually people think, I'm not getting investors or I'm not showing it to anyone. It doesn't matter. Even for yourself, you should have some kind of outline of what you see as the plan for your business. Now, I'm not going to go into the different sections of a business plan here. You can always find them online. And I'll also have a link to a couple of examples in the show notes for this episode. So you can go to supportissexypodcast.com and just search Get Out Your Dream, and all of the episodes in the series will come up. But do have a business plan, have an outline that will serve as a guide for you of what you're trying to create. And then if you do have to present it to outside people, you'll have it there. You'll have that structure there so that you can use it moving forward. So that's the first question. Do you need a business plan? I believe you do. So map out something. And I think you determine for your business how detailed you need it to be, or what you plan to use it for determines how detailed you need that business plan to be. Next question. If this is a business, how will it make money? Or is this just a hobby? Now, if it's a hobby, that's fine. But kind of know that going into it. Sometimes we all create these things that are really passion projects or things that we say are businesses, but really it's just a hobby. What you don't want it to become is an expensive hobby. Hobbies are great. Well, an expensive hobby is fine if you know that's what you're doing. But if you're thinking it's a business, but it's really just a hobby that you're throwing money into, you need to be clear on that. So starting out, set the intention. Is this a hobby or is this really a business? And if you decide that it is a business as part of your plan, think about, as of today, of what you know of the business today, because things change as you go along, something I definitely have learned in this journey. But for you, as of today, and what you know of what you want your business to be today, based on your dream, based on your vision statement, based on your mission statement, based on your business plan that you're going to create. How do you plan for this business to make money? What do you currently see as the way your business will make money if that's what you're going to turn this into? Again, if it's a hobby, great. You don't have to worry about it. But if it's a business, how are you going to make money? Make that a priority in what you consider. Another part of your plan, if this business or dream costs money for you to create, which most things do, a lot of people say, oh, you can just set it up for free. There's always something that you have to pay for. Even if you're using one free service, there's usually something, at least in the online space, something else that you have to pay for. So if that's the case, no matter how big or small the amount is this self-funded, meaning that you are going to handle all the expenses yourself for a certain amount of time? Or do you plan on bringing in investors? Now, investors doesn't mean you have to go to some big investor meeting when you see these huge startups or companies in Silicon Valley doing things like that. That might be part of your path. But investors could also mean you're doing something like crowdfunding. So you might want to do something like Kickstarter or Indiegogo or any of the other I Fund Women, a fantastic one, ifundwomen.com, all for women. I've been on there, have interviewed several women from there. I love the founder, Karen Kahn. So I Fund Women is another platform, crowdfunding platform that you might consider. But as part of your plan, if this business, which it probably will, takes some money to start, how do you plan to do that? Is that something that you're going to do, or is that something that you're going to bring in people to help you? Investors, crowdfunding, friends and family, what is the plan? Another part of that, to piggyback on that, is how much money do you think you will need to start this business? So that's going to take some research. That'll include looking at, do you need certain kinds of equipment, or do you need software, or do you need training, or anything else that you might need in order to get this business, dream, service, etc. started. Some things you can start for free. Say if it's a blog, you might be able to just do that for free. I don't even know if blogs are free anymore. I feel like having a website, it costs something to maintain. That's another thing. Starting and maintaining. It costs a certain amount to start most things, but then it costs an amount to maintain it. So with the podcast, just as an example, I'm able to record things for quote unquote free on my computer. I use GarageBand to edit. I had to buy a microphone, and then I have to buy services through Libsyn to host my podcast so it can go to iTunes and all these different places easily. There might be some free services, but for me, Libsyn has worked the best so far. So that is what I'm using, and I really love it. But I have to pay for that, right? I have to pay to have a website to host the content where I put all the show notes that you guys go to. So I have to pay for that. So you have to think about all the things that you have to do to start the business and then to maintain the business. Also for me, in doing research, I looked up courses and I took some online courses for podcasting. Most of them were free video kinds of things. I joined a podcasting group, Podcasters Paradise, with John Lee Dumas. That costs money. So again, looking at what can you do for free, what's going to cost you, and mapping that out so you can plan for it. Another thing, kind of piggybacking off the hobby part, is this a side hustle or is it full-time? This is another question that I would have asked myself when I first started my business, and I would have started when I had a full-time job. Well, I was working a full-time job when I started Chic Rebellion, but then I left to focus on the business full-time, and it could have been a situation where I managed both. But at that time, I really wanted to focus on the business. Now, I don't regret the choice, but if I were able to think through it and think through the plan and do some of these steps that I'm mapping out for you, I probably would have taken a different route because I had a nice 6-figure salary, and that would have been a great support for my business, as opposed to putting pressure on the business to make money to cover all expenses. You can do this as a side hustle, speaking about your dream or whatever you're creating, if it's possible. And usually it is, for no matter how big a company gets. When you first start, usually you can do it while working full time. And that gives you less stress worrying about expenses or anything else that you have to take care of, because you have the job there. As Lisa Nichols, she's my favorite, as she says in Abundance Now, think of your job as your investor. Totally changes things, right? Of course, I heard this after I'd already left my full-time position, but think of your job as an investor in your business. Now, they don't have to know that. You still show up for them every day, just like you do for any investor, but then use whatever you need to for taking care of yourself, one, but then also to invest in your business. Start it as a side hustle. And then when it grows and can take over all of your expenses and have you be able to do that with as much ease as possible, it can become your full-time thing. So give that some thought before you make the leap. Is this a side hustle? Can it be a side hustle in the beginning? Or is this something that you want to jump into full-time? I suggest hustle it on the side until you grow it and then make the leap. Another question to consider as you come up with your plan: what is the measure of success for this dream, business, service, product, whatever you're creating in the world? What is the measure of success? Actually, not the ultimate measure of success. What are the measures for success as you go along? So the milestones, for example. So with me, just as an example, with Support is Sexy, with the podcast, I gave myself one of my milestones, one of my many milestones is I want to reach 100,000 downloads by the 1-year anniversary, which will be July 4th, 2017, coming up very soon. For me, that was a big milestone, done it all by myself for the past year. 100,000 downloads to me I'd be very proud of that. And I'm pushing for that and I'm very close. So thank you all so much for listening. But that's an example of me of a milestone. Also an example is getting a certain number of sponsors by a certain time. So for you, what are the milestones for you along the way? Again, not the ultimate thing that you're going to do, but give yourself steps along the way so you know the measure of success. How are you growing the business? How are you growing whatever you're doing? Is it a certain amount of money by a certain time, or a certain audience number by a certain time, or something else that is measurable that you can know, okay, this is moving in the right direction. Give yourself, depending on whatever your business is, some goals that you can hit, milestones you can hit along the way. And if you notice, I'm not being specific other than the examples I'm using about myself, because you're all creating so many beautiful, different, diverse, varied things. So I can't say really what exactly those milestones would be. So I use myself as an example. But you know what you're creating, what your dream is, your vision, your mission, what you're up to. So think about what would be some milestones along the way that you can think of right now. They will change, right? As you go along, they will change. As you grow, they will change. As you learn more, they will change. I know for me, some things that I wanted to do that were milestones, I decided that doesn't work for me, or that's not right now, or that's not right for the brand of what I want to create. I'm going to go in this direction. These are my goals, my milestones that I want to hit by a certain time. Again, with the milestones, remember how many by when. Give yourself an amount. Give yourself a date so that it's a concrete goal that you want to hit, and push as hard as you can, as smart as you can, but as hard as you can to get there so you know that you're growing. So whether you hit it or miss it, and I'm confident that you'll hit it, but you've pushed and you've learned throughout that process because you are headed toward that goal. You have a concrete goal in mind. And the last question I want you to think about for coming up with your plan is, this is a big one because you know I'm all about it. Who can you ask for support in this process? Seriously, if nothing else, write this down. It has to be a list. Who can you go to for support? This one, out of all of them, is the one that I really wish I thought about before I started. Now, when I say who can you go to, remember, it doesn't have to be people that you know. It could be online courses or books by certain people who have done it already, or going to meetups and meeting people who are in this industry, or free courses or free trainings, or it can be a variety of things that give you support, even if it's just part of your research phase, even if you're doing it before you start the business, which is actually recommended. Who are the people? What are the things? What are the resources that can support you? Come up with a list, a concrete list of things that you are going to tap into before you start this thing, or when you're before you start. Before you start this thing, write down a list of how you can get support. Support is sexy. We all need it. We can all use it. It only makes you better. And there will be things still. You're not going to know everything before you start. So we don't want to be paralyzed by this, right? Don't stall. Don't use this as an excuse, I should say, to stall. You can do this. You're going to move forward. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be fun. It's going to be challenging, but you can get out your dream if you just come up with what that dream is, clarity around that dream, come up with a mission and your vision for it, come up with a plan. And in our next episode, we're going to talk about how to execute on that plan. And you definitely need pen and paper for that episode, okay? Don't fight me on that. How to execute on your plan. So hopefully these questions are helpful to you. Let me know if there's others. I'm sure there's others. This isn't a full comprehensive list, but again, I'm sharing the questions that I wish I asked myself before I started my business and that I continue to ask myself now, even if you don't know before you start the business, but you will because you have them here. But even whatever you don't know beforehand, you can ask yourself along the way. Once you know, you make it happen. You don't know what you don't know. But once you do, you can make it happen, ask the questions, and go after the answers full force so you can build a better business, service, product, be a better person, whatever you're creating. You can do better once you know better. All right. So thank you so much for listening. I truly appreciate you. Go to supportissexypodcast.com, search Get Out Your Dream for other episodes in this series. And to get any information or links or things that I mentioned in this episode, you'll have them all there. Easy to find. All there for you. Supportissexypodcast.com. And thank you all so much. I have to say before I go, for the reviews. I so appreciate it. It's wonderful. I love hearing from you. I don't have my phone nearby, so I can't read off your names, but maybe I'll do that on Friday's episode. But I truly appreciate you all leaving the review, letting me know what you think. I love a 5-star review, but as I always say, any feedback is appreciated. So if you're listening to the podcast, wherever you're listening, please leave a review. So let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you. All right. Again, thank you for listening. I truly appreciate you. And now you know what to do. Go out there and create something sexy. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care.